1, 2. Okay, let me check if we are online. YouTube tells me I'm online, but we don't have any checks at the moment because Anna-Week isn't here, so I'm gonna manage it myself, I hope. Welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. And today we are gonna do something special. We're gonna do something with motion, but most of all, freezing motion. We have a great model. Linda, are you ready for this?
Yes.
Awesome. And one of the things that I want to discuss before is, of course, the technique. Now, the technique is slightly different with freezing motion than you might expect. So, I hope you will enjoy today's episode of Digital Classroom. Let's start with our intro so you know what you're watching. Okay, so when I started out with photography, there were a few things that I liked and a few things that I didn't like. Now, you might not suspect it, but what I didn't like was model photography. Absolutely not. All those models jumping around and being beautiful, I just thought it was incredibly boring. What I liked to do was shooting birds in motion, shooting motocross, cars, and everything that went fast. If I came home and I wasn't covered in dirt, I didn't have a good photo shoot. So, when I came to our local photo club, there was this option. You had to go into the forest with somebody that loved to shoot trees, or you could do model photography. Now, I knew one thing for sure. If I go into the forest with that one guy, one of us wasn't coming back because it was so incredibly boring just shooting trees. But model photography, I don't know, it didn't really attract to me until we started doing it. And this is what happens with most of the things. Sometimes you don't think you need it or you don't want to do it, and then when you start doing it, you actually fall in love with it. For me, with model photography, it was being able to steer everything. And can you check that the live stream is running? Being able to control the lighting, being able to do the styling, being able to create something from nothing. Start with a blank canvas and start building it up with light. And somehow with model photography, I really found the thing that I love to do. And I actually never expected it. So, how did I combine my passion for freezing motion, doing stuff that's fast, with model photography? Well, when I started out with model photography, I was using hot light, so that was mostly portraits. But very quickly, I started using strobes. Now, one of the things that I love about strobes is freezing power. And it means that you can literally freeze something that's jumping up in the air or that's moving fast. And that's because the flash has a certain flash duration. Now let me explain this, because this is really important. Anyway, can you give me my light meter, please? It's over there. So when we look at normal lighting, so let's call that continuous lighting. Now, continuous lighting builds up over time. We call this cumulative adding. I hope I pronounced this correct. It means that it builds up over time. And it also means that we have a problem when we want to freeze motion. Now, to freeze motion, I always tell people you need at least 1/2000th of a second. Now, as soon as we start to use LED lighting in our studio, you probably already know that shooting at 1/2000th of a second, that's a real challenge. You can probably get away with it on ISO 3200 f2.8. But there's another problem with model photography when you start doing jumping models, and that's your distance. I want to make sure that my model is sharp from top to bottom. And that means that if I'm shooting on 2.8, I have to make sure that my focus is pinpoint exactly on the point where my model is jumping. I can already tell you that's almost impossible. So, what do? You can, of course, put something on the floor and say, okay, this is where you jump, and you just go for it. But, in all honesty, with LED lighting, I never got a really good shot where it was absolutely frozen. And that's why we use strobes. Now, the first question I get from a lot of people is, hey, if you use strobes, you're shooting on 125th of a second, right? So how the heck can you get perfect freezing motion? That's the idea. When we shoot with strobes, there are two things that you have to take into account. The first one is the cutoff and the raise of the strobe. But also you have to realize that a strobe is a pulse of power at once. So although we are using 125th of a second on the camera, the strobe is much, much faster. So why do we use 125th on the camera? When we look at old day cameras, when we took a picture, it went as follows. You press the shutter. At that moment, the focus system worked, or you did it manually. Then the mirror flaps up, and then the first shutter curtain opens and the second shutter curtain closes. This is how you normally take a picture with a camera with a mirror. And even with mirrorless cameras, we still use the same technique with shutter curtains. So one opens, one closes. Now, to use a strobe, you want to make sure that the whole sensor is lit, because you want to make sure that you see a model, right? You don't want half the frame lit and the other half not. So that's why we have to make sure that when the strobe fires, both shutter curtains are open. And it only happens when you stay below a certain shutter speed. Think about this. When you go above that shutter speed, the first shutter curtain opens and the second follows. So you get a black bar. Now, how many of you guys ever did work with strobes and got a black bar when you put in a little too fast of a shutter speed? Everybody, right? Because that's where we start out with photography. We call this the X-sync, or the maximum shutter speed we can use with strobes. Now, do realize that when we use studio strobes, it's often 125th or 1/60th. As soon as we start using speed lights or system-owned strobes, we get a little bit higher, like 1/200, 1/250th. And as soon as we start using HSS, high-speed sync or hypersync, now we can break the barrier and go all the way up to 1/8000th of a second. But freezing motion with HSS is not really perfect. We want to make sure that we have one pulse of light on our model, and that freezes the model. So we want to make sure that within that 125th of a second, we have a strobe that has a flash duration of at least 1/2000th of a second. So how can you figure that out? You can use a light meter. So this is a Psychonic 858. With this light meter, I can also meter the flash duration and the cutoff and the rays of the strobe. This is awesome when you test out new strobes to see how fast they are. But I can imagine that not a lot of guys out there will have an 858 from Psychonic. So is there another option? Yes. You can use a fan. And I don't need fans that love your work. You guys are great, of course. But you need a fan. So that's the thing that creates nice, cool air. And what do? Very simple. You place your strobe and you aim it straight at the fan and just put it on the highest setting. Place your camera on a tripod and set it up for f4, for example. Just meter the light f4. Take one shot and save that in Lightroom. Now you raise your strobe one stop, and you do the same thing on your camera, of course, otherwise it's overexposed. Take the same shot, and you do that all the way through the exposure of your strobe. So in other words, if your strobe had 6 shots, you do it for 6 shots. If your strobe only has 2 stops, well, you need a better strobe, right? So, in essence, Anouk, what are you doing? You're in front of the camera. Oh. So, we want to make sure, now I lost my train of thought, sorry. What's going on with the cameras, Anouk?
So I will put it on power.
Oh. What was I telling? Sorry, guys.
About the light meter.
Oh yeah, so when you have a strobe with only 2 stops, you need a new strobe. Great. So in Lightroom, you can now look at the shots that you took with your camera, and now you can literally see on which of those photos the fan is frozen the best. In other words, if you see one with all the motion blur, that's not the one you want to use for freezing motion. If you see one that's razor sharp, that's the one. But you probably won't see one that's razor sharp, you will probably see one that has a little bit less motion blur. And that's the one you want to use. Now I'm already going to tell you guys, it's not the same for all strobes. Some strobes, for example, have the fastest flash duration at 75%. Some strobes will have the fastest flash duration at 0 power. Yeah, that's the one that you don't want to use for freezing motion, right? And some have it around 50%. When I look at our Giotto strobes, we are around 50-60% for maximum flash duration. The big advantage of hybrid strobes is often that they have a faster flash duration than normal strobes. Meaning with the Giottos I can go all the way up to 1/10,000th of a second. It's not one that I will ever use because that's on the almost lowest setting. The lowest setting, by the way, is way up in the 20,000. But I'm not going to shoot on 2.8. Because that's the final part of the story I have to tell you. And I hope the girls are ready after that. Because I'm getting a little bit nervous now. Because all the cameras seem to be malfunctioning. So, anyway, Anouk, are you okay?
Yeah, hoor.
Oh, okay. So, I'm sorry, guys. I'm totally lost. Let me get a drink first. Let me explain. There are different cameras around me, and Anouk is running around with batteries and cables, and I'm a little bit worried that we don't have any images. So, the last part for freezing motion is the depth of field. you want to make sure that your model is sharp. So if your model jumps, you will move a little bit forward or a little bit backward. You never know where she's exactly going to be. So that means that we're not going to shoot on 2.8, because with 2.8 we have a very shallow depth of field. As soon as we start shooting on 5.6, it's a little bit better. But for freezing motion, especially when you start out, I highly advise you guys to do it on f11, f16. So you are sure that everything is sharp over the whole area and you don't have any problems with areas that are out of focus. For today, we have a nice backdrop and we have a nice model, of course. We're going to do several lighting setups. Now, I'm not going to do one with broad lighting. I'm going to do one with focus lighting because that's more difficult and that's more fun. And I'm going to also explain to you guys how you can see the differences between the softboxes. If you have any questions, we still have the chat open, so we can see a lot of people online like Paul and Trip. Hi, how are you guys? And of course, today, like in all digital classrooms, if the broadcast is watched after the episode, you can still ask questions in the comments below, and I will answer them mostly within 24 hours. But for now, we have the chat open, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. The hardware I'm using is a Sony a7R5 with the 24-70 2.8 lens. I'm using the IQ Wire 10 meters, the new cable, the 10G. Man, they're fast. It's really nice. And of course, the protection system from IQ Wire. I'm using the commander on the camera, but I'm using several triggers in the strobes. You're going to see them hanging around. And sometimes people ask me like, hey, Frank, aren't your strobes up to par for today's episodes? Like, why do you need separate controllers like these? The reason is very simple. We don't need them, but they are incredibly handy during workshops because, well, like with most strobes, this is a Sony controller. We also have a Canon and Nikon controller. But we also have people with Pentax, Hasselblad, Mamiya, Leaf, whatever. So we want to make sure that we have a universal system, and this is universal. But there's another trick. These controllers that I use are from Photix. And you know, the cool thing is, in my Psychonic meter, I have a meter that actually triggers Photix triggers. So in other words, I can use my light meter to trigger the strobes. That's why you see those extra controllers from my strobes. You don't need them. Normally when we sell them to people, they only use the commander. But in my setup, I'm also using the extra triggers. Extra advantage, if you're outside and you are in a lot of disturbance with Wi-Fi networks, often the external ones are just a little bit more stable than the internal one, and it's logical, they have a larger antenna. Okay, I think I'm ready to go into the studio. Annemiek, are you finally ready?
I'm ready to. Your biggest fan is watching.
Yeah, sure. My dog, Chewy?
Ineke and Fred.
Ah, Ineke, Fred. Okay, let me see if the camera works. So we can see the images coming in.
De kabel zit er niet aan.
Oh, yeah. When I don't, let's connect the cable. That helps a lot. There we go. And let's see. So I'm going to go into my Lightroom. Let me switch the cameras for the picture-in-picture. There we go. So today I'm shooting into Lightroom, and normally, of course, you know that I'm using an iPad with Cascable, but because I'm also going to show you some tricks with retouching in the new digital classrooms, I'm actually switching over to a Lightroom with the Sony, because now Lightroom actually supports tethering for Sony, so it helps me because this is a little bit easier for me to retouch. When I shoot on the iPad, I have to get all the images over to my laptop and start retouching, and during a live show, we want to be as fast as possible. So that's why I'm using a Lightroom on the desktop. Okay, so when you look at your softboxes, there are different kinds of softboxes. And what I always look, I look at the sides of the softbox. So how does it aim the light? Now, when you look at the strip light, for example, when we go to this one, you can see that the strip light is in essence 3 little softboxes. We have this one, and that one. This one is a little bit more bright because it's in the center, and the sides are a little bit more softer and a little bit softer also in output because they're on the sides, and here is your strobe. So your strobe lights the diffuser panel, the diffuser panel lights this, and then the light comes out. When you buy a strip light, always be careful that you buy a slightly larger one than you think you need, because if you want to light the face of your model, you lose the top part of your strip light. For the very simple reason, your face of the model has to be in the center. What I do with the strip light is slightly different. I angle them and I use them to light both the backdrop and my model. So we're not going to do that today, but I wanted to show you. Today we're going to use it as an accent light. So today I'm going to move it all the way to the side. And of course I'm going to aim it at the side of my model, slightly down. And of course we want some light on our backdrop. So let's do this. And angle it so that I can get a nice reflection on the backdrop and also some nice edge light on my model. Now this one for me, let me see, this is channel A, so this should normally be my main light, but in this case my main light is going to be channel B. Now for this one, when you look at how it's designed, you can see that I'm using a grid to steer the light, no light spill, but it's also relatively wide. Now the main advantage of something like this compared to, for example, our quickie, which is more angled towards the front, is that this one I can place closer to my model and still light more of the area than, for example, with the quickie. Let me grab a quickie really fast so that you can see the difference. So I have to run to that one. There we go. So when we compare the two, and you have to look at the sides for this, you can see that this one spreads out and this one aims it much more to the side, to the center. So in other words, if I use this one, I can place my light further away, create a nice bundle of light on my model, and also light the backdrop. In this case, although we're doing motion, I want to make sure that I place my light close to the model, but still shoot for the first set about 3/4. And that's when I use that one. And this is where the inverse square law comes around the corner. When I use this one, I place the light further away, so that means that the inverse square law falls off slower, so also lighting the backdrop. With this one, to cover the same area, I place it closer, so the light falls off quicker. So that's why we use that one. Okay, so I'm going to ask Linda to step into the set. I'm going to aim the light towards Linda. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot a portrait. And you might wonder like, hey, a portrait? Yeah, why not? That's cool, right? And for portraits, I always like to place my light slightly to the side, especially when there's motion. When she starts to start to flow, I want to make sure that I light her from the side. I use my accent lighting on the backdrop and on my model to create a nice contrasty light. So let's turn on this one. And let's see if the triggers are on. No. Let's turn the triggers on. Everything now okay with the camera, Sanavik?
Of course.
Okay.
Oops.
Not funny. Can I get my light meter? Okay. So first things first. We want to figure out what is the best configuration and setting for that strobe. Let's pretend I don't know what I'm doing. So, which is pretty close to real, of course. Okay, I'm now at 4.09, that's almost 5.6, and my flash duration is 1/3500th of a second. I hope you can see that on the camera. So 1/3500th of a second. So that's more than enough to freeze motion. 5.6. For a portrait, I'm happy with that, so I'm very lucky in this case. Let's do the back. Okay, 4.01. So the backdrop is lower. Okay, great. So now I know 5.6 ISO 200 for my main light, and the backlight is a little bit lower, so 5.6. First, I'm just going to do a portrait. Can you look a little bit that way? Perfect. And there we go. So now we have a nice three-dimensional image, and can you press on the F button on my laptop? Wait a minute, not now. One moment, you have to make Lightroom active first. Otherwise you go offline. There we go. Oh. Why does it make it small again? Okay, guys, this is something we have to figure out later. I don't know why it's doing that.
But I can do it.
No, please don't do anything. Okay, let's go for A. Let's turn that all the way up. Let's give the accent light much more bite. Okay, look that way. There we go. Now, as you can see, the balance is totally off. So we're not going to do that. And I already see what the problem is. Let's go for this to be on channel B. And that one is channel A. Yeah, there we go. Now it's correct. Sorry, guys. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, nice. And as you can see, this is okay. We have a nice light on the backdrop because I'm using a strip light under an angle. The light really falls off nicely on the backdrop, so we don't have any problems with graduations that doesn't look nice. I really like this. The only thing is, it's a little bit boring. And this is the problem with a lot of photo shoots. It looks nice, it's great, but it's often a little bit boring. So how do we improve it? Well, first of all, you can of course go more styling. But that's not really the thing, of course, that we want to do. So in this case, I'm going to ask my model something very simple. Can you please look that way? And as soon as I say yes, turn very violently towards the light. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. Now, as you can see here, now we get a lot more motion in the shot. We get something that's more engaging. And overall, just moves more. Literally, you get more flow in the shot. Now, of course, this is not what we want to do at the end. We want to make sure that we create something that's even more oomph. Now, one of the things that I always love to do with photography is choose my angles. Now, of course, you can shoot from eyes perspective, like this. Can you just look towards the light? Perfect. And then I always shoot down on my model because, hey, I'm taller than my models. So we don't want to do that. So we want to have the hero pose, right? That's the lower angle shot. So I'm going to go low. I'm going to use my flip-up screen. I'm going to look at my model. There we go. Now this looks way nicer. The only problem is, composition-wise, it's very much in the center. And the funny thing is, believe it or not, when I'm shooting this during a photo shoot or during a workshop, I look at it and I go like, yeah, nice. And then I start adding it, and I always move my model towards the right. I love negative space. And as you know, I love to use it as a positive space. But in this case, let's make sure that the model moves all the way to the left. So in this case, just look towards the light like you did before. Perfect. I'm going to go for a slightly lower angle. There we go. Nice. This is much nicer composition-wise. I'm also angling the camera slightly to get a little bit more flow in the shot. Now you might wonder, Frank, why are you cutting off her hand? I don't do that intentionally. Now, there are rules about where do you cut off a hand, where do you cut off a limb. My experience is if you follow the rules, you often end up with images that don't look right. Follow your instincts. Just look at the image. Does it look right? Then it's right. In this case, it doesn't look right because I should also cut off a little bit more on the top of her head, and then it looks right. But for now, let's go down, and I don't see the second hand. Now I can, so let's do it again. Chin down just a little bit. Perfect. And as you can see, I'm moving my model slightly towards the side. And the only problem is, at this moment, she's leaning a little bit backwards. And that means that because I'm shooting from a lower angle and she's leaning backwards, I'm actually creating a very strange line. So maybe it's wiser to let my model lean a little bit forward. Let's try that. Now look at this. This is a totally different shot. Hello, Marilyn Monroe, how are you? But we can still add some ante to this. I hope that's the right pronoun, whatever the right saying. So, in all honesty, when I look at this, I go, yeah, we're getting there. But now let's make the hairs and the dress move. Are you ready? So look that way. And 1, 2, 3, go. Now, whenever I'm shooting motion, I always make sure that I shoot wide enough. Because in this case, I didn't know what she was going to do. And because the dress is so wide, yeah, if I was close up, I would have cut off too much. But this lighting setup is not nice for this dress. Why not? Very simple. As you can see, it's all black. Maybe later in Photoshop we can up the shadows a little bit, but it's not what we want to do. So if you want to make sure that the dress is nice in the picture and you want to do it like this, it's actually wiser to shoot it from the top down. So can you do the same thing? 1, 2, 3, go. because now the light is literally hitting the dress from the top down. And that helps a lot, because now the dress is capturing the light. And when you shoot from a lower angle, it doesn't. So the lower angle, can it still work? Yes, of course it can. Just don't move the dress as much. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. There we go. Very nice, very gentle. Now, sometimes models have a problem with expression. Now, Linda is doing great, but sometimes models jump or move around and they go like, they have all these weird, like they're getting a heart attack. At that point, there's a very simple trick. Okay, Linda, I don't like your expressions at all. I do, of course. Can you move that way and then shout without making any sound at the moment you turn? 1, 2, 3, go. Now, wow, I love it. This is awesome. Yeah, this is great for Halloween. Like, whoa, that's Frank. So what did we do here? I'm doing two things. One, I'm making sure that I have an image that's awesome, because let's be honest, if you have a model that screams and you capture it right, it's a great shot. But I'm also having fun with my model. Did you hear her response? Oh, wow. Oh, she's laughing. And that means that that little bit of stress is now a little bit less. And the less stress she has, the better she can perform. Because remember, you're doing this with models that never were in front of a camera, a family. Maybe you're doing it with a professional model, and then it's easy if you get your timing right. But if you do it with unexperienced models, this works best. So without screaming now, because you can do it. Okay, let's do a few. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, and then without the scream. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Nice, and one more. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. Okay, let's see in Photoshop what we can do with these images, and then we're going to be back, and we're going to do something with accent lighting and jumping, because of course this is the start. We have a lot more for you guys, if the cameras don't quit. Now it's great. How did you?
I pressed F.
Every time?
No, just once, and I let it go.
Oh, okay, cool. And now how do I? There we go. Awesome.
So same outfit, right?
Yeah, or another dress, that's okay. It doesn't matter.
What do you want? You're the boss.
Do something, Annemiek, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we are now back in Lightroom. And the first thing I always do is I select the images that I like from a photo shoot. Now, you don't need a lot of images, let's be honest. If you have 10 great images, that's awesome. If you have 20, that's already way too much. Why do I tell you guys this? When I started out with photography, especially with model photography, I came home from my first photo shoots with 200 images. And believe it or not, they were shot in about 2 hours. That's insane. That's an insane amount of images, because I didn't take any time to coach my model. I didn't take any time to check my lighting. I just kept shooting and shooting. Over the years, I slowed down a lot. Of course, also age. but most of all, it's of course understanding that shooting fast doesn't yield better responses or better results. Shooting fast only makes sure that you forget stuff and you become sloppy. If you can manage to get a great shot within 10 images, that's great. My advice, shoot 5 more. If there's one that's better, continue shooting. If there's one that's better, continue shooting. If there's not, then you're done. You have 3 great shots. You have 1 perfect and 2 great shots. That's more than enough from one set. Same thing with models that want the original raw files. Don't do it. Select the ones that you like. Quick tip, if your model is like, oh, but I want all the images and you don't want it. Okay, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can see it all the way up to 19. Then do the following thing, just take out all the images that you don't like for example these 2, press X, go to photo, delete rejected photos, delete from disk, and then just rename everything from 1 to where you are now, so from 1 to 17. This way, if you send your images to your client doesn't go like, hey, where's number 77? They just go like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 70. So now we know that those are the images that you as a photographer like. And if she really wants to choose something, at least you know that she's choosing something where you are behind and not something where she thinks she looks nice, but the composition is all wrong and you can't fix it. Okay, so what do I do in Lightroom? In Lightroom, I'm going to select my images and I'm going to see which one I like best. So let's switch over to the larger view. Okay. Now, for me, an image should jump out immediately. You should immediately see like, hey, pick me, because I'm the best one. Now, when I look at this image, I really like it. It's a nice portrait. This one, by the way, has to go. So, this one is nice. Nothing wrong with these images. They're all cool. Okay, this one I don't like, so let's take that one out. Okay, that one is not exciting, but it's okay. That one is cool. Too dark, but you can always try to fix it. Now, because I'm shooting with the Sony, there is a lot of latitude on the bottom part. There we go. I don't think the model would like that, but there we go. It's a little bit noisy, but you can always remove that in Lightroom itself or in Photoshop. But in all essence, I don't like the shot at all this way. So no, this is not one that I would select. However, when we go to this one, now this one is cool. I like everything about it. The only thing I don't like, of course, is the strobe in the back. And I think the feet are great, the dress is great. I just need a little bit more shadow detail. So let's up the shadow detail just a little bit. There we go. And I want slightly more highlights on the dress. Now this is a problem because as you can see here, when I do the highlights, I do everything. So I'm going to use a different trick for that. Overall, I like the shot. Great shot, so let's give that 5 stars. Let's go for the other one. Oh, this one is also cool. Let's see if I nailed focus. No, okay, that one has to go. And that can happen, you know. Sometimes the focus is off. Most of the time it's great. Okay, let's just go for that one shot. Okay, let's move my tethering software. There we go. Okay. Now, before I did the photo shoot, I already set my color temperature right, so let's go into Photoshop right away. And there are a few things I want to take out of this shot. Of course, the first thing I want to make sure that I don't see my strobe in the back. And although I'm not a big fan of artificial intelligence in most cases, although it can have its place, I think in Photoshop and Adobe does it really well. They pay the ones they use for the training, and I think it just helps in Photoshop a lot instead of using the clone tool. So, and I'm doing it now with the trackpad, so that's a little bit more difficult. There we go. And in this case, I'm using generative fill, and I'm not going to type in anything. I'm just going to let it do its work. Now, sometimes you can just type in create wall or create something else, but most of the time when I just extend backdrops or I remove a strobe, I just leave it like this. Now, if it comes up with that annoying yellow box where it goes like, hey, you did something that I don't like, you can enter a dot. And then often it just skips that. I don't know if they still do it, but I didn't see the orange one for a while. Okay, I think this one is okay. You can always upscale this, but I found in backdrops it doesn't make any sense to update. So layer, flatten image. Okay, we also have a problem here, and that's actually chewy probably. Now in this case, I'm just going to use content aware fill because that's on the floor, and that's good enough. Okay. I like the shot. I just want some more detail on the dress. Now you can do this in 2 ways. I can create a separate layer and I can go, for example, for the dodge tool and just go over the areas that I want more light in. And this is an okay way to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. I've done this a million times. And as you can see here, it makes a huge difference in the shot. Totally different. There's also another way. Let me show you that. That's actually a little bit more tricky, but I like it a little bit more. Just go for a new layer, only in this case, don't choose any colors, don't use anything, just go for mode, soft light, and then fill it with neutral color gray. As you can see here, we have a layer that doesn't do anything, it's just an empty layer. The cool thing about this layer is if I take a brush with white paint, I can literally make areas brighter, as you can see here, and darker. Now with the dodge tool, I can much more surgically aim at a certain area and just browse over it with a big brush. And that takes, for this dress, a lot less time than if I do it this time. For the dodge and burn layer, I really have to go in, make the brush smaller, change the opacity to, let's say, 25%, somewhere there, slightly bigger. And then just go over it. And I will show you in a minute the difference, because the difference is huge, but there's a reason for choosing one over the other. So let me just finish this really fast. There we go, and just follow the lines. Okay, this is also cool to add a little bit more detail here. I'm literally painting with light now, as you can see. And sometimes I call this layer the painting with light layer. Okay, that I don't like. Do it like this, and then, of course, here. There we go. Okay, I'm just doing it very fast now, but look at the difference. Yeah. The thing is, when you do it with the Dodge and Burn tool, you will find out that the Dodge tool gives you a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more oomph, but it can also blow out your channels. So when we do it with the other one, as you can see here, it gives you more shine on the dress. So compare it again to the Dodge and Burn layer. This one is nice, it opens up the light. So compared to this one, it's okay, it just opens up the shadows, but it doesn't give you that oomph. Now when you go for this one, that one will shine, it will give you more brightness in your colors, but you can clip your highlights. So be careful. If you do this, make sure that you do it on something where you can't clip your highlights that easily. So for example, on a dress like this. If you have something that's really shiny, I would prefer the Dodge and Burn layer. Now, of course, when you can do it with white, you can also do it with black. So that's the advantage of that layer. If you go here and you say, I want something a little bit more darker, you can literally just go for a darker color, create a big brush, and I'm not going to do it, but just to give you an example, and let's say I want that backdrop or the floor to be much darker. There we go. Even more darker, just press a second time. And there you go. Now, again, I don't want to do that in this image, but you get the idea, right? There we go. Okay. But you can also do it in the dress. Let's say that there are areas in the dress that you want darker. You can literally just draw it in. Now, as I mentioned before, you can do it on both layers. So let's remove this layer and let's go for this layer again. Only when I do it with the Dodge tool, I now have to do it with the Burn tool. So now I go to the Dodge tool over here, press long, and you have the Burn tool. Now with the Burn tool, you can enhance darker areas, as you can see here. And combine the two and you get something really nice. The dress really starts to shine and really just captures your imagination. Okay, great. Now, of course, when you use the Dodge and Burn tool, up here you can see shadows and midtones and highlights. So you can also use the Burn tool on your highlights. So the difference between the highlights and the dark is mostly that I use the Burn tool on the darker areas or midtones. And I use the Dodge tool on the highlights and the midtone. So the Dodge tool for me has both areas. I'm not going to use the Dodge tool on the shadows and I'm not going to do the Burn tool on the highlights. But if you want, if you need it, it's there. Okay, let me show you another trick. Now, of course, when we have an image like this, I would love for the colors to jump out a little bit more. And by the way, I see that I removed something wrong here. So let's do that very quickly with Content Aware Fill. There we go. And there's some mess there. Okay, cool. Okay, deselect. Overall, I like it, but I want more of that blue in. Now, there are a few ways to do it. You can do adjustments and go for Use Saturation. And of course, you can do Master. I'm not going to do that. Go for blues and just wing it. Ah, there we go. Nice. But that's also not what I want to do. The best thing you can do is take your picker and just place it somewhere. And now it selects that area and gives you much more flexibility. You can change the color if you want. In this case, let's make it a little bit more bluish. As you can see here, nice. You can change the lightness, make it more saturated or muddy. So you can do a lot of stuff here. But sometimes you want more control and you want it to be really intense. So for that, we're going to do something else. We're going to do a layer and we're going to do an adjustment layer. And in this case, we're going to do a black and white adjustment layer. And don't shut off the camera yet. I'm not crazy. Instead of doing it normal, choose this one, Lumosity. So we're going to use a black and white layer on Lumosity. Now watch this. Hey, nothing changes. That's weird. I have a black and white layer. Now remember, when we talk about colors, and we talked about this many times, a color has three coordinates, an X, a Y, and a big Y. Now, the X and the Y is hue and saturation. So that means that over the color triangle, you move towards your white point or you skew towards your white point, right? Hue and saturation. Saturation makes a color more or less saturated. The hue shifts the color towards the secondary color, or in the case of a secondary color, towards the primary color in the color space. But there's also that big Y, and that's luminosity. Now, when you look at your printer, you actually can see the luminosity in your printer, CMYK. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and a lot of people say black. No, the K is not for black. The K is for key, and key means brightness. That we use a black module for that, that's normal. but it is CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, key. So that means if we change the key of a color, so in other words the luminosity of a color, we actually change the behavior of that color. It doesn't become more saturated, but it will look more saturated. The cool thing about this is we can do a lot more with the luminosity than with saturation or vibrance. With luminosity you can clip a color channel, but if you go down you can't. You can make it too muddy. But when you go down you can actually make it more saturated. So in this case let's do that for our black and white adjustment layer. Now when we look at the black and white adjustment layer, you can see all your colors, your red, your yellow, your greens, your cyans, your blues and your magentas. Red, green and blue are our primary colors, cyan, magenta and yellow are our secondary colors, and in the middle we have the white point or the black body curve. That means that if I start to change the luminosity of these colors, I can literally change the look of the shot. Now watch this. If I do it for blue and I go up, I have a really nice control over blue. And I can make it a little bit more light or a little bit more darker. In this case, I like it a little bit more light. Look at the dress. It really starts to jump up. Difference before and after. It's very subtle, but it's there. Love it. Now, of course, you can do the same thing for the cyans. Let's make cyan a little bit darker so we create more contrast in the dress. As you can see here, almost back to the original, but it's just a little bit less of that factor. So let's go down and let's do the same thing on the opposite side. As you can see here, you see where I'm going? Now I'm adding almost the same thing and now I have total control. There you go. Much more even, and I hope you can see it on YouTube, but some colors are now much more in uniform. But let's just freak out a little bit with this shot. Let's make it brighter. There we go, and again, original in this one. And also see what we can do with the magentas in the shot. Is there any magenta? No. Is there any reds? Of course, in the skin. So let's do that. Okay, so before and after, it already looks different. So that's nice, but I'm going to remove that one too. Because most of the time we of course use plugins. Now over the years I've used a lot of plugins, and some of the ones that I like the most are actually film plugins. They create a film look. Now for this shot I just want to show you one that absolutely blew my mind when it came out, because it has everything I need in a very simple consumer orientated way, and that's Luminar Neo. Now if you don't know Luminar Neo, it's just awesome. I highly recommend getting it. It's not too expensive, and if you go to our website we have a discount page. Let me show you that very quickly on the layover. So we have at frankdorov.com discounts. We have the discount for example, also Luminar and Adobe, of course. So let's go back for my, there we go. Okay, so let me just not use a preset, but just go through it. Let's go for edit. Now it's the same as Lightroom, you just go from the top to the bottom. So develop, I don't need it because, well, I use the light meter and it's okay, but you can always play around with your smart contrast a little bit. But as you can see here, it actually more destroys my image than it actually opens it up. It is cool to see that I missed some areas over here. I'm going to show you a cool trick for that later. Okay, so I'm not going to use the exposure. Okay, what I am going to use is, of course, the skin retouching. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and I'm going to go for skin. Zoom in. And I mostly found that when I just place it on 100%, it does a very nice job. You can also do a face lighting. Now in this case, I don't need it because, well, we had proper lighting. And of course, you can zoom out again. Okay, so another thing that I love to do in Neo is, of course, create a vignette around my model. So I want to make sure that I have a nice dark corners and select my subject and create a little bit of light play. It's not a lot, but as you can see here, you're just aiming the corners a little bit more towards your model. It's subtle, but it gives you so much more attention towards your model. It just flows nicer. Sometimes you don't even see the vignette, but it's there and it helps, because if I turn it off, you can immediately see that it doesn't work. Now for street and travel photography, I love the details. I'm going to show you what it does. You can literally just make an image pop like crazy, as you can see here. And in this case, I think we can use it a little bit on the dress. Look at that, that's nice. But I would take it out of the face if it infects the face. And in this case, it doesn't, so leave it in. But you can also use masking to take it out or put it in. And finally, of course, we want that film look in. Now, Boris FX is another plugin that I use for film looks, and that's very, very nice because it shows you the film looks. Now, Illuminar does it slightly different. You have to go for the, of course, for the mood. And in the mood, you use a LUT table. And in this case, you just go through them and which one do you like. In this case, I absolutely love this one, the Riverside. And let's just go for the more creative ones. Ooh, this one is nice. And of course, you can change the amount. A little bit more contrast, a little bit more saturation. There we go. And before and after. It just gives me a little bit more oomph in the shot. Nice. And press apply. Now, as you can see, a very simple retouch. And you can put this in a preset, and the moment that you shoot it, you just open up the shot and you go like, okay, let's run this preset. And the only thing I normally do is I change the vignetting. So the vignetting is nice over the face of the model. Looks really nice, but as you saw, I did do something wrong. There was a lot of junk still here. And the thing is, you might not see it during the retouching. But your client, if they have a monitor that's a little bit too high in brightness, or they have an old monitor where you look from the side and you can see all the shadow detail, they will probably see all the mess that I made. So how do we solve it? Well, very simple actually. We just create a new layer. So create a duplicate layer. Then go for adjustments and just go for shadows and highlight. And just bump the shadows like crazy, as you can see here. Awesome. Now you can see all the stuff that I forgot to take out. Great. Get your lasso tool, go for the bottom layer, select everything. Like for example here, let's hold the shift key for an extra addition here, and let's hold the shift key for here. Okay, cool. Generate the fill and generate. There we go. I hope. Takes a little bit. Now, of course, it doesn't update in the version on top. I will show you a trick for that right away in the next shot. Because this is how I started this technique, and then I always had to turn off the top one and then see if it worked. And in this case, as you can see here, if I now open it up, layer, flatten image, it's not perfect, as you can see. I have to do a lot of work, I have to move around, and well, it did work. So, what is a better way? Stay tuned, because in the next setup, I'm going to show you a much easier way. Okay, for now, I'm going to save this image. I'm going to go for a new folder, retouched. And let's just store this as a JPEG. And there we go. Nice. Okay, let's go back into Lightroom. There we go. Okay, let's go for my main camera for now. And I want to show you something. Every year there is the 5-day deal, as you know. And this year I am also in the 5-day deal. We have a great video in there, a very long video, and you're absolutely gonna love it. It's uniquely for the 5-day deal, so we're not selling it besides the 5-day deal. It's really created just for that deal. Now, there's a lot more in the 5-day deal. And to show you that, it's much easier than to talk about it. So I'm going to show you a quick video about this year's 5-day deal. And I'm very sure you're going to be very enthusiastic about it. do remember that it starts tomorrow, and for the pre, you get the discount. So don't wait for the official release. Make sure you get it tomorrow. And you can use the link that I just gave you. Let me show you that one more time, because maybe after the video you became much more enthusiastic. It's the best deal for creatives of the year, and I absolutely love it. I'm still working on version 1 because it's so much. Okay, let's go back to our main setup for the next setup.
There was a remark.
Oh, there's a chat here.
Good morning.
Ah. Okay, cool. Good morning. Awesome shots and advice. Thank you. Yado Rose. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I hope I did it right. So thank you so very much for that. Let me see. Engage with your... What is this? Oh, okay. Let me do a poll very quickly. That's cool. Ask a question. Do you like the retouching in between? Let's see if this works. So now we also have a poll. Oh, and I absolutely love the retouching, so I'm going to say yes.
Me too.
Yes, I love the retouching. Awesome. So we have now 100% for the retouching. Yay, go. Go, Doorhofs. Cool. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of a drink, and then we're going to go on. Are you ready, Linda?
Yes.
Me too. Okay, so I'm going to try to get this one on F again.
You now got 3 votes.
Oh,
I also yes.
oh, that's awesome. So, at least we now have a big picture. Okay, and you can move to OBS if you want. Okay, we're going to do a slightly different setup for the next one, because in this case, we have a blue backdrop and we have a red dress. And in all honesty, I love that combination, because blue and red are great contrasting colors. Now, the only thing was I didn't know she had a red dress, so I'm actually having a blue gel in my strobe, and I would love to change that for a red gel. So anyway, can you give me a red gel, please? And that's the nice thing about the Rogue magnetic system. We just change one module over for the other one, and you have a red gel. Isn't that awesome? And you can also combine them on top of each other. Don't do it because it looks terrible, but it can be done. But because it can be done, it doesn't mean you have to do it. And in this case, don't. Okay, there we go. Awesome. So I'm going to remove this one, because I'm not going to use the strip light for this. But I'm going to use this one. I'm going to place it all the way here in the side. And let me see, it should be channel C. Yes, in this case I don't make a mistake. Okay, now for this setup, I'm going to act like my model doesn't know anything about movement. She's a total beginner, and I have to make sure that she slowly starts to get the fun of movement, right? So how do you start? The first thing you have to do is take a normal portrait. So Linda, are you looking forward to your photo shoot?
Of course.
Awesome, great. If you can stand there over her, please. Yes, awesome. So,
Also, the extra, if you're going to use it, maybe not, maybe later.
also cool. Just put it in front of your face if you want. There we go. Let's turn our main light. Channel B. Okay, cool. So I'm going to change my main light slightly towards the front, because in a moment she's going to jump, of course. And the first shot I'm just going to do very simple. And in all honesty, simple is sometimes cool. Sometimes not. Like in this case, I have way too much of the red. So let's turn the red down. There we go. A lot less. Now I highly advise you guys to not do this with your model on the set, but just try this out before your model is there. There we go. This looks much better. I'm going for a really dark, almost mystical kind of look. The thing is, however, again, we want to have motion in the shot. Now, this is a professional model, so I'm not going to do the standard stuff at first. I want to have a little bit of fun with motion with her before we're going to do the simple stuff. So I'm going to lower the red a little bit more. Can you hold the mask in front of your face? Look that way and turn around. So we have mask and hair. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. Awesome, look at that. I love it. This is getting me totally psyched up. These are the kind of shots that I love to take. And let's be honest, a model, she's beautiful, right? But in front of the camera, just standing still, it's so static. Add some motion. But the cool thing is, you can also use your wide angle and a lower, oh, you're having fun, right? For example, go low, 1, 2, go. How about this one? Lower angle, slightly before the face is open, and now you get a Muppet show, right? Animal. All the hair in front of the face. Think about a heavy metal band, headbanging. This is a great shot for that. But if you aim it slightly later, you can have the face clear. So do it again. Now I'm slightly later. Oh, 1, 2, go. And there you go. Now you can also get the face totally lit. Shoot a little bit later. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. There you go. So in essence, by timing the moment that you shoot, you can also time where in the frame the face is. Now you might wonder like, hey Frank, now you're just showing off. I am a little bit, because I'm nailing them all, right? But trust me, that took a lot of practice knowing my camera. I know when to shoot it. But to give you a little bit of an example, and I'm not proud of it, many years ago, I got my first medium format camera. And I was shooting in a workshop with motion the week before, and I nailed them all. 10 shots, 9 were great. So the next week I thought, let's do it with a medium format camera, right? That's cool. So I said to my students, guys, don't worry if you can't nail it at once. Takes me about a month to get to know everything, and then I nail them all the time. So I started shooting. First one, but model was already on the floor. Oh, that's not good. Second one, model was somewhere mid-air, not good. The thing is that I didn't realize at that moment, because I only worked with one camera, is that every camera has a different timing. So, in other words, if I do this with an A7R5, and you immediately give me an A7R3, I'm probably a little bit too slow or a little bit too fast. Takes me about a few days, and then I'm overall 100%. So if you switch to a new camera and you think like, why can Frank time this and I can't? It's muscle memory. It's the same thing with playing fast on a guitar. Sometimes you don't even think about it, it just happens. And that's muscle memory. And that's the same thing with this. The timing is in there. I just know when to shoot. So don't worry if it doesn't work at once. Okay, so I love this shot. I think it's great, but now let's reset. Let's go for a starting model who doesn't know anything about posing. And she's very bad with posing. And I have to figure something out to make the shoot more interesting. Now, of course, she's wearing high heels, so I can't make her jump all the way. Now, you're not wearing high heels, but for the story you are. Yeah. Okay, the first thing I have to do is make sure that my model is at ease. Now, the only reason I can get my model at ease is to be nice to my model. So I'm not going to tell my model, hey, you suck. No, I'm just going to tell her, look at that shot, awesome, right? Even if I don't like the shot, I will still tell my model, look at that shot, it's awesome. But then we want to add some motion. Now, we already did the one with the hair. My model is very enthusiastic about it. So now I want to do a full body. The thing is, I love to shoot in landscape. But if I shoot in landscape with something like this, I get this. Now, in all honesty, it's awesome. I absolutely love it. It's great. Look at the shadow detail. Look at the spread of that S26 from Giotto. Great softbox. Yeah, but it doesn't really move me. And I'm throwing away a lot of pixels. Now, I love shooting landscape. But that's because I love the way that it spreads out the information. It draws the viewer in. When I look at this shot, it doesn't make any sense at all to shoot it in landscape. Unless, of course, I change my whole composition. But in this case, it's much better to shoot it in portrait mode. Like, for example, like this. Nice. But then when I shoot it from that high angle, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. For you guys, no, right? It feels almost like you're looking down on your model, and somehow we don't want to do that. I'm going to give a little bit more light, by the way, on my main light, because I moved it slightly. Okay. So when I'm shooting from a lower angle, I can't see my display anymore. And that's the cool thing about the new cameras. You can now just flip out your display. Old man talking. My first cameras didn't have a flip out display. I'm going to go for a very low angle. Going to zoom in. There we go. Much, much better. I'm going to ask Anouk very quickly, can you turn off the lights, Anouk, there? Pretend running doesn't make you faster. It just makes you look funny. Sorry, guys. But you can see the lights on top, and I want them off, because as soon as we start making our model jump, we of course don't want those lights in there. Sometimes they can be awesome. I'm using them sometimes in shoots to make a little bit of an extra accent, but most of the time I just want them off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Linda. Now, of course, I know you can't jump. So what I want you to do is, as soon as I say yes, you just stand on your toes. Nothing more. Yes, like that. Oh, with the mask. Let's create something cool. Okay. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. There we go. Now, as you can see here, this already gives me a much nicer image. I absolutely love this one. But in all honesty, it doesn't really turn me. It doesn't give me that wow factor. So I'm going to ask my model, hey, if you do this, can you lift up one knee? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, wow, look at this. Already better. But in this case, you're leaning too much back. So when you do it... Oh. So when you do it, try to lean a little bit forward. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. Oh, nice. Look at this. He's already getting forward. The knee is up. I love the motion. The only thing is, I would love to see a little bit more of the hair. So I'm going to up the ante a little bit. I'm going to have fun with my model. I'm going to tell my model, okay, Linda, awesome. Now do the same thing. Look that way. And then when you do it, you turn around with your head. Yeah, I'm going to add. Are you ready? Yeah. Are you sure? 1, 2, go. Awesome. Look at this. Now it looks like she's running. Isn't it cool? Can you do the same thing with the mask in front of your face? Saves me a lot of Photoshop later on. Not with you, Linda. I'm just kidding. 1, 2, go. Okay. Remember when I told you guys to always shoot wide? This is why. And I did this intentionally, just to show you. But I actually regret it now, because this is an awesome shot, but I'm missing her arm. Now, of course, we have Photoshop, so I can clone it in. But let's not do that. Let's go back to my wider shot. And in this case, I am going to crop later on. Okay, 1, 2, go. Cool. I'll do it again. Are you ready? 1, 2, go. Nice. And one more, leaning a little bit more towards me. 1, 2, go. Nice. I love these. And now my model is getting into the moods, he's getting into the feels, he's getting the groove. So what can we do now? Well, we can do something weird. The moment I say yes, you stand on your knees. Stand on your knees. You stand on your toes. You lift up your knee. And you just make a little bit of a hump, and you look towards the light. Nothing with your hair, but just a little bit of a humps. You get what I mean?
With one knee.
One knee up, the other one just slightly off the floor. Okay. And you can even do this with high heels. Trust me, we've done it a lot of times. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. And as you can see here, she bends back. At this point, I'm not giving any attention to my model if she's unexperienced. The reason is very simple. If you make your model scream, or if you make your model jump, or if you make your model do anything that's normal, it's okay to be a little bit more critical. Although be careful during the photo shoot. You don't want the energy to flow out because you're too critical. When you do something that's weird, like screaming, jumping, moving around a lot, it's better to never say anything that's negative, because the model doesn't feel at ease at this moment. He feels like, oh, I'm moving around, I'm holding this weird mask, I'm moving my hair, do I look nice? And if at that moment I go like, that doesn't look nice, I'm not giving my model more energy, I'm just draining my model like a vampire, I'm just sucking out the energy. So what I have to do is, oh, Linda, I love this shot, it's awesome, if she's unexperienced. Now, Linda is much more experienced, as she's done a lot of workshops with me. And with Linda, I can be a lot more direct, and I can just say to Linda, okay, look at the shot. I love what you're doing. Could you just lend your head a little bit more towards the light when you do it? Yep. 1, 2, 3, go. And this is the difference between working with a model that you know and a model that is inexperienced. With a model I know, I'm very picky. I'm very, sometimes really harsh towards the model. I go, Linda, I don't like this one. Let's do another one. But it's because we are both in sync. So she knows, well, I got great shots, so she doesn't feel it as negative. When you're a starting model, everything comes up way more hard, so be careful when you coach. Okay, a few jumps. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, watch out with your dress, because I can see under. 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. Now, in all honesty, and this sounds a little bit weird, but make sure you always do it. When you shoot a model that jumps from a lower angle, now of course I'm going to select my images, so when she jumps up and everything is visible, I'm not going to select that image. But it's not a weird thing to ask your model, are you wearing underwear?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. It's not a weird question. When I started out with photography, in all honesty, I had a lot of trouble asking my model, do you wear underwear? Do you have a bra on? And I found it so weird for a grown-up guy to ask a girl of 18 or 19, do you wear underwear? But in all honesty, when you shoot something, and for example, when you shoot a white shirt, and the model has a bra on, you can see everything through the shirt. So sometimes it's better to use, for example, a bra that doesn't have any metal in it, so it's softer. If your model doesn't wear a bra, you have a big chance that you can see little bumps, right? You don't want that, so a bra is better. But what if your model wears very tight clothing and underwear? You can see the underwear. So it's a normal question within a fashion shoot to just watch for the styling. And in this case, because I'm shooting from a very low angle, it's a very normal question. Hey, watch out. Because let's be honest, it's all about the energy of the model. If the model sees an image of herself with the light coming from the bottom and everything, yeah, I don't think that's going to give you a lot of energy in the shoot. So I'm going to shoot from a lower angle, I'm going to select my images later, and I'm going to make her jump a little bit more fiercely now. Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, go! Look at that. One leg more stretched. 1, 2, 3, go! Oh, great. One more. 1, 2, 3, go! Okay, dress a little bit lower. 1, 2, 3, go! This is nice. Let me see. If you are again, more creative, shoot it also from the top. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, arms a little bit wider because now I can't see underneath anymore. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, nice. Final one. 1, 2, 3, go. Now, when I'm shooting from the top, I think I can even get away with landscape. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, it's very, very tight, but it's okay. Now, of course, if you still want some portraits, you can still move around your model and create, for example, something really cool with lens flare. So let's zoom into my model. It's now only a portrait again.
Maybe you want to use the sunglasses.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay, use the sunglasses. Yeah. So now I have the lens flare in the back. I'm going to show you a cool trick with Boris FX in a moment for that. Oh, I love that. Just look into the light. Nice. Okay, there we go. Nice, okay. Now let's turn around and do the, let's see if the sunglasses stay on. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, and now one with your hands a little bit higher. 1, 2, 3, go. And I'm trying to get the lens flare behind her. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. And if you want more contrast, don't worry. Take your light, make sure that the distance is the same. Move it to the side. Aim it slightly towards. Oh. 1, 2, 3, go. There we go. If you don't want the light there, but behind her, stand here. 1, 2, 3, go. And again. Oh, sorry. Wait for my count. 1, 2, 3, go. Now I'm using my front to really get that reflection on her sunglasses. I'm using the back to create that lens flare, but I'm not going to have my backdrop lit anymore. So, like I told you a few times in different episodes, we need a different modifier for that. So I'm going to spread out my light more. And for that, I'm going to use the magnetic dome. Of course, from Rogue again. Now, the magnetic dome is cool because it spreads out the light. So normally the light will just go front. In this case, the light will spread out much more. So I'm also going to light my backdrop. I'm going to put it on, slightly angle it, because I now have much more spread. I do have to adjust, of course. So in this case, I'm going to add a full stop. Okay, very nice. Are you ready? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And now we also have some light on the backdrop, like a nice contrasty light. But in all honesty, this is more like, oh, just some light from the back. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more interesting by using it from the side. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. You also went up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Nice. A little bit more with the flowing hair. And a little bit less accent. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, wow. Arms down and do it again. 1, 2, 3, go. And the final one. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, go. And because we are having so much fun, you can see that the model is having fun, I'm having fun, the photo shoot will become a lot less straining and you get energy out of it and the results are much better. Now in this case, I love the reflection on the sunglasses. If you don't like it, place the light slightly higher. I'm going to slightly higher. I'm going to show you that too. Angle of incidence is angle of reflection. So when I place my light higher, I will take away some of the glare in the sunglasses. Not all, but a little bit. Okay. There we go. There will be a little bit more shadow on my model. Okay, and just tilt your head slightly down. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. And now you can see no reflections in the sunglasses. It just depends on what you like. Okay, let's go into Photoshop and let's see what we can do with these. Because these are much nicer, I think, and much more intense. Ooh, I like those. Let me switch over to my camera. There we go. Okay. And now, of course, we can't do Digital Classroom without our sponsors. So, of course, over the years, BenQ has been a great sponsor of us. They have great monitors. As you can see here, we have several BenQs. At home, I have several BenQs. The reason I'm choosing BenQ is actually very simple. As you know, I'm big on color. And BenQ has the color system totally under control. They use external calibrators, so not built-in, so you can choose your own calibrator. And the most important thing, a calibrator doesn't have eternal life. And when you calibrate your monitor, you have to make sure that you are within a certain DE. That means a delta variance. Over time, analyzers become less sensitive. So all the monitors that have analyzers built in, over time they will become less sensitive and your calibration will be a little bit less accurate. By using the BenQ monitors, you have hardware calibration inside and an external calibrator. So if after 2 or 3 years you go like, my calibrator is a little bit more drifting, then you can just buy a new calibrator and use the same monitor. So I absolutely love the monitors for that. They're very affordable, and when you're in the European Union and you are in the market for a new monitor, drop us an email and we have a nice 10% discount for BenQ monitors. I'm going to show you very quickly a video on the BenQ so I can quickly change everything over here. And we're back, I hope. So, again, images. Which one do I like and which one I don't like? Okay, let's go quickly. I always select images that I like with a 5. And in all honesty, in this case, I think I like that one more. So I'm going to do that 5. Now that one, of course, is ridiculous. That one I don't like, no. No, that's okay. That's nice, like running, arm away, that's nice, cool. Nice, but no winning. Ooh, from the top I really like. Let me just change some over here. That's cool. Okay, and one with jumping. Let's see which one I like best. Maybe this one, because it's a weird pose. Okay, photo, delete rejected photos. This is something I always do. Let's go for rated images. And let's first take this one. Now, in all honesty, I think it's a little bit too dark now when I see it here. So I'm just going to open up the shadows a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. There we go. I love the shadow here. Okay, let's open this up in Photoshop in a moment. Let's see if I can do a little bit with the highlights. There we go. I have that filter on my camera that gives a little bit of a glow. It's the K&F Concept Black Diffusion. I absolutely love that filter. Just sometimes when the light hits it right, you get that nice glow. And when it doesn't, you get beautiful lens flares. Now, in this case, as you can see, there's a lot wrong with this image. There's a lot of stuff on the top that I need to take out and a lot of stuff here. But as you remember, I told you guys, with these kinds of shots, you shoot wide. So that means that I can now just go here, go for original ratio in my crop. And I'm just going to create a slightly more cropped version. I love the shadow, so I'm going to leave that in, but not too much. There we go. Okay, great. Now, if you want to take out areas here, I already told you you can do that with that separate layer, but I told you that's a little bit weird. And that's how I started out by doing it. There's a much easier way. Go for layer, go for your adjustment layer, and go for curves. Now, in that adjustment layer, as you can already figure out probably, I'm going to raise up the shadows. And now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to take my selection tool, going to take out that one, going to take out that one. Oh, I have to hold shift, of course. There we go. And maybe that part, but I'm going to do that later. Generative fill, and now as you can see, so the previous one I showed you, I always had to copy one on top of the other, and that's when I started out. I didn't have adjustment layers, by the way, at that point in Photoshop. So adjustment layers make everything so much easier. The black and white conversion layer, of course your soft light, that was already available. But by using a curves as your adjustment layer, as you can see here, you can very quickly just take out everything that you don't want in your shot. Because as soon as you're done, the only thing you have to do is delete the layer. Sorry, I'm doing it wrong. Delete that layer, sorry. Of course, delete the right layer, and that's the curves. So here I can see all the detail, so I can see that I had stuff there, and when I'm doing this, it's much harder to see. Like, for example, the shadow area here, I can't see. Now I can see it. So now I took it out, and now I only have to delete my curves layer, and I'm done. See, much easier, much faster. And that's the difference between the new adjustment layers and the old ones, of course. This one, okay, I'm going to leave it in for now. I don't want to spend too much time on it. And I promised you a trick with, of course, Boris FX. So let's go for Boris FX Optics. And Boris FX is a slightly different software package. Now, Luminar Neo is great for skin retouching and is great for example, the standard stuff that you do. But Boris FX is a little bit more advanced. So let's go for merge down. Oh, don't remind me. Okay, let's try that again. Optics. Now, if you probably watched Stranger Things or Star Trek, you probably know Sapphire. And Sapphire is actually the big brother of optics. Optics is more aimed at the photographer business. Now, we have a lot of options in optics. And the thing that I love the most is, of course, lighting. Now, with lighting, of course, as you can see here on the side, we already have a red lens flare. But in all honesty, I think with a shot like this, we want that lens flare to be overwhelming. We want that lens flare to be oomph in there. Now, because it's already there, everything in the shot fits, right? So the only thing I have to do is add a lens flare to give it a little bit more oomph. So go for lens flare effects and just place it outside the frame and just move around where you want your lens flare to hit. Like, I don't like all the extra stuff, so mostly just letting it go like this. And then just find the lens flare that fits. Now, if you expect me to do something really spectacular with the lens flare, I really have to disappoint you. I'm not going to do something like this or this. Wow, look at that. No, I want to mimic exactly what was there because I cropped it off and it wasn't 100% right in that location. It doesn't look right. Now, by just adding that lens flare in, I'm actually creating something that was already there, so it doesn't look fake. It actually fits in very nicely. And again, I don't like all the extra stuff. I'm just gonna place it outside, and then you can always go like, okay, if you really don't want it in there, you just go for other brightness and you can just lower that in Boris FX. Okay, the second thing is I'm gonna create a new layer. You can see that on top, and I'm gonna go for Film Lab. Film Lab is awesome because in Film Lab, you can literally choose the colors. So let's first go for Film Stock. Great. I love this pose. It's wonky, it's weird, it's abstract. So I want something that's a little bit, wow, look at that, straight away. Love it. Maybe change the opacity a little bit. There we go. Don't do anything anymore. There we go. Apply. There, don't touch it. Perfect. Now, sometimes you want a little bit more oomph in your shot, and I totally get it. So when I look at this, I go like, well, maybe we need a little bit more oomph, right? So let's create a new layer, and let's call that layer just nothing. I never name my layers. There we go. And what can I do with an empty layer? Remember when I told you guys that we only see 3 colors, red, green, and blue? Those are our primary colors, and we also have secondary colors, cyan, magenta, and yellow. That means that if I go to my image in channels, I should have 3 channels. Wow, there we go, red, green, and blue. Now, as you can see, they all have different looks in this shot. But for example, with blue, I can see all the shadows. Wow, that's amazing. When I go for green, it's a lot darker. And when I go for red, I can see the dress. Now, remember that color consists of 3 coordinates, x, y, and big Y. That means that if I combine those together, I get something a little bit like Technicolor. So watch this. I'm going to select Command A, Command C, select everything and copy. And I'm going to go for that empty layer and I'm going to go V, Command V. Now you might say, hey Frank, this is an awesome black and white version, store it. Great, if you like this, store it. You can also go, for example, with your opacity down and you have something a little bit more washed out. Great, if you like it, awesome. But I want something a little bit more oomph again. So let's go for my blending modes and let's go for something that's in the range of soft light. There we go. Now in the range of, you can also use hard light, but hard light often just blows out the highlights too much. So with hard light, I often just add in a little bit like this. For this shot, because it's really dark, I want to go for soft light, and then I can just bump it up a little bit more. I still want to see the feet. Look at the difference. Now it really pops out. Now if you lose a little bit in the red dress, that's no problem at all, because as you remember, you can go for image adjustments, go for hue saturation, go for a channel, can be cyan, click on your reds, and just bump up the reds. Or in this case, what's much better, just lower the luminosity to give it more oomph. There we go. Nice. Great. And now that little thing annoys the heck out of me. This one. So let's make sure that we don't see that one anymore. Okay. And that one just jumps out too much. And later on in Photoshop, I'm actually going to take out also the other ones, but for the live stream, let's only take out that one. There we go. And if you want an alternative, you just go through, and I think this one, the first one, is actually the best. So layer, flatten image. Let's look at my total image. Love it. Do you like it, Linda?
Yes,
It's weird. It's cool.
I like the mask with it.
Yeah, it's different. I can do a normal jumping shot, you know, but we have so many of those. Okay, so let's do a portrait very quickly. And let's close this one. Okay, now one of the portraits, which one should I do? Let's do this one. Oh, that's the only one. Oh no, wait a minute, I selected two. Which one should I do? Let's do this one, because this one I can make a little bit more funky, I think. Okay, let's up the exposure in this case. I want to do something a little bit weird, so I'm going to go away from my perfect lighting. I'm going to make it lighter. And that means also that I have to tame my highlights down, because this was set up as a really high contrast shot. I can make it more flat light by bumping up the shadows and bumping up the exposure, but at that point also tone down the highlights. As you can see here, this is a totally different image from how I shot it. It's a choice. If I would have shot it like this, I would probably use the lantern, which is a nice big softbox, and it just spreads out the light a little bit more. In essence, nowadays cameras have so little noise that you can literally get away by just bumping up the shadows 100%. You zoom in, and as you can see, there's no visible noise. And that's a huge difference compared to all the cameras. So let's start up with this one. And let's create something a little bit more moody. And the first thing I want to do is I want to remove my lens flare from here. So I absolutely don't like it there. We're going to go straight into a Boris FX. And we're going to go all the way. We're going to go berserk in what it can do. I'm not going to go a lot because I'm not somebody that takes it literally all the way with weird particles, etc. But I just want to create a nice atmosphere and mood with some extra smoke, for example. But first we're going to create the lens flare. I'm going to place it outside frame. I'm going to go for a red one, and again this time I'm going to go more extreme. So in this case I do want all that stuff in. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's go for a little bit smoke. Smoke. Oh, it probably is called fog. Okay, it doesn't want to do what I want to do. So let's go for the particles. And of course you can do explosions, which we don't want to do. I want to see where my smoke is. There we go, nice particles. Let's see where we can place that. And you can make it bigger and smaller, but for now let's try different smoke. There we go, I really like it here on the side to create a little bit more of a softer look. That's probably our mailman, Chewy loves him. Let's duplicate that layer. Only in this case I'm not going to do it there, but I'm actually going to move it. I'm going to move it here. And I'm actually going to lower the opacity a lot, because on that side I just want a hint of it. There we go, great. Nice. Maybe the darker. Yeah, I think I like it darker better. Cool. Okay, create a new layer and let's go for our film lab. And as I said, this time I want more looks. So I'm going to go for, not my bleach bypass, where are you? Not film stock, but looks. You can create a really stark black and white, as you can see. I absolutely love this, but not for this shot. Let's go for some really special effects. Oh, here are the looks, sorry. The looks are great. So you have the film stocks. The film stocks are like emulations of film stocks, like literally, as you can see here, Agfa Precisa, lomography, I don't know. There are a lot of different options here. And most of the times I will select one of these that will just fit the look. And they're not that extreme. They are extreme, but they're literally just a little bit more like film looks. When you go for looks, that's more, they created something from a film look that could be used in a movie. Like, for example, they have something called Amelia, I believe, from a movie. Sepia, which always reminds me of Bride of Frankenstein. And these are the more creative presets. So let's see if we can find one over here that's really cool. Wow. It's a shame I don't want to go for black and white, because if I see these, I get really enthusiastic about the black and white versions. I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but man, they look nice. And I think that's the difference between a software package that emulates like Instagram looks, where they just do something, or when it's really thought out and everything is in balance. I often found that with the Instagram presets, it creates something that's cool, but it doesn't look natural anymore. It doesn't have any connection with it. It's over the top. And that's actually what looks is also. So, yeah, get that in the right perspective. Oh, there we go. This one is nice. Now, let's change the opacity slightly. There we go. And look at how that bites. Totally different. That's really cool. There we go. So in essence, the shot is still there. All the lighting is there. I'm just adding a little bit of a smoke effect, which you can also do by just breathing on your lens when you take the shot to make it a little bit more flow. And I'm adding that lens flare. And that lens flare is over the top. But everything else is just tinting. And I just wanted to show you guys that it's so easy to create shots that are much more intense and much different from how you light it by just changing the settings. Do make sure that there's always enough detail, of course, in the blacks, in the shadow, sorry, because otherwise it won't work. If you block up your shadows completely, you can't bring it back. But if you open it up enough, like I did here with the S26, that just spreads around enough that I can just in that shadow area just get a little bit more detail back. Okay, final shot to retouch. Also here I'm going to add a little bit of exposure. I think I was a little bit on the lower side. I should have remetered. That's why you should always use a light meter, boys and girls. Don't follow my example. Okay, in this case it's very clearly what has to go. So let's go for fit on screen. I want this one gone, but also my stand. Let's take that whole side out. Let's see what Photoshop does. And let's do a generative fill. There we go. It's amazing what it can do nowadays. It's just insane. It creates something completely. Sometimes it creates a whole person and I go like, where did that one come from? Do you want to know? No. Sleepless nights. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's nice. You see how it actually invents here a little bit that's supposed to be there, the shadow? And it's exactly right. That's so cool. Okay, layer flatten image. Now the top one, of course, I can just take out very easily with content aware fill. Now sometimes, and that can be really fun, you can actually select the bottom part. And for example, say an old rugged wooden floor. Float, oh no. Now it's gonna float, it's gonna be water. And of course, the dress, and we have to take out later in Photoshop with just the eraser or a layer mask. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to do. A wooden floor. If it's really intelligent, it should know that a float is nothing. I need a floor. It's not artificial intelligence, it's artificial dumb, right?
I know what Ineke means with the strip light frame.
Oh, did she answer?
No, but I think I know. She meant why the strip light was not high in the air, but low in height.
Because I wanted to show the difference between the reflection in the eyes.
Yeah,
There
that
we
was
know.
the first setup.
Yeah. Ooh, I really like this one. Look at the light. It's insane how they do it. It's great. And the dress, I can leave the dress like this, no problem. Okay, flatten image. And now I have a wooden floor. Awesome. Okay, let's go into Boris FX. And in this case, I can actually get exactly the same look by going, yes, do the same thing. Awesome. Of course, I can also go back. So lens flare, of course, we have to go here. And the lens flare now should be over here. I still don't like that spark over there. The smoke, in all honesty, doesn't make any sense in this shot. So in this case, just delete that one. And the same thing for this smoke, delete. Nice. And of course we have the looks. I'm gonna lower that slightly. There we go. And if you want, I don't know if that's nice, you can always go for stylize and for example go for different styles, like for example an airbrush. If you want somebody to, with example, if you have somebody that moves around really fast, you can do, for example, sharp on the front and then use something like this in the back to make them fall apart. It's those really nice effects where you can go crazy. It's not my thing, to be honest, but I just wanted to show you guys. Okay, in this case, let's go for, again, lighting effects. And we're going to go for a little bit of a glint. So I'm not going to do this all the way. I'm just going to go down and just, there we go. Very, very subtle. And we're done. Okay, let's render this out into Photoshop. And look at the difference. Again, it's not 100% like, wow, it's over the top, but it still gives you that look to your image. Okay, let's finish it off. I think it's a little bit too bright, so let's go for curves. As you can see, I can always change that later on. There we go, nice. Cool. And I think for the composition, maybe a little bit tighter on top. Yep, much better. The reason I'm cutting off the top is we all know that there's hair on top. But by cropping it slightly tighter, you get the idea that you're so close to your model that she doesn't even fit on the frame. Now, this is something I would never do for a commercial client, because a commercial client wants their images in a frame and then it cuts off even more. And grandma and grandpa doesn't understand that photography needs drawing the attention to the eyes. So they go, where's the top of the head of my grandchild? So for commercial shots, always leave a lot of space on top. Now, when we do shots, for example, for Vibi Suryadi, where we create the posters, I always take a lot of extra space on the top. And the reason for this is simple. We sometimes need to extend the top for extra text. And if you have an image that's really bright and strong and it's eye-catcher, and you don't have enough light on the top, you are only left with one solution: create a banner. And you don't want it. So I always take those shots a little bit wider, so in the top I can literally create a little bit more leeway with Photoshop. Okay, let's save this as a copy and let's see if we have any questions. And I think then we're done for today. It's a little bit earlier, but we never know exactly. Yeah, I think this looks really nice. I'm happy with them. Do you like them, Linda?
Yes.
Me too. Yeah, me too. So in the end, during the photo shoot, we did this one as a final result. We got this one as a final result. And this one. And let me see this one. So the original, the retouched version, the original, the retouched version, original, retouched, and original and retouched. As you can see, it's not a lot that I changed, but it's just enough to give the image more oomph, bite, or whatever you want to call it. And in this case, of course, with the lighting effects, I go overboard. Normally I don't do it, but for the live stream, it's always fun, of course. Hey guys, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. We always try to answer them as soon as possible. I'm going to see in the chat if there are any questions. Okay, Ineke asked me, why is your strip light relatively high? And Anouk thinks, and I don't know because Ineke doesn't respond at the moment, but I think she means, why is it lower? The reason why it's lower is because I wanted to show the light fall off on the backdrop. And in that case, because the accent lighting of the strip light was more on the side of my model, I can place it a little bit lower. If you place it higher, you can, for example, create a diagonal on the backdrop. If you create it lower, you can create a diagonal going up. As soon as you start using your strip light as an accent light, you can literally just move it around. When I use it as a main light for the reflections in the sunglasses, I will actually place it higher, as I did later on with S26. Start low to get the reflections in the eyes, as you can see here. Oh, wait a minute, I will go to Photoshop again. So as you can see here, we have the nice reflection of the of the softbox in the glasses. Now this is something, don't do this all the time, because it's actually a mistake. Normally you don't want reflections in sunglasses unless you do. In this case I do, and then it's great. But then just fill them up, just everything in there. If you don't want them in there, very simple, angle of incidence is angle of reflection. So if the angle of incidence is this, make sure you shoot under this angle and not here, because if you shoot here, you will get the lens flare, the reflection. If you shoot from here, you don't. So in other words, as soon as you have the reflection in the glasses, just raise your light slightly up, chin slightly down from the model, angle of incidence is angle of reflection, you're shooting from there, no problem. And that's actually what we did in the final shots. Okay. Annemiek, do we have anything else that I want to say or that I need?
5-day deal.
Yeah, don't forget the 5-day deal, of course. I'm going to show you that very quickly.
Only 5 days.
So it's only 5 days. So we're going to bug you with mailings for the coming 5 days, I think, just to give some attention to it. Don't unsubscribe, please, because we normally don't spam you guys. But for the 5-day deals, we try to do it. Okay, another question is, why do you store your images as JPEG? That's a really good question. Yeah, they got me. Okay, so why do I store my images as JPEG? Very simple. I always save my RAW files. That's without any question. My RAW files are always on a drive. Another drive is my JPEGs, which are retouched. Now, in the past, I didn't store them as JPEG. I stored them as TIFF 16 bits. The problem with TIFF 16 bits is that one image is 200 megabytes. That's a lot. When I look now at my images, they're about 10 megabytes. So that's a factor 20 less. When I started converting everything from TIFF to JPEG, it was pure out of necessity. I have a huge Synology NAS. I actually have two on top of each other and they mirror each other. Hard drives are not expensive, but 12 terabyte hard drives are really expensive. And I was at a point that my 8-bay drive was totally filled up with 6 terabyte drives and it was filled to the brink with images. I had to buy a new NAS for the very simple reason I stored everything. Weddings, street and travel photography, all in TIFF. It was huge. I started to lower everything from street and travel photography and weddings to JPEG. Adobe RGB, JPEG. And that saved me so much space on my hard drive, I could literally go for 4 years extra. And then I started comparing it. And let's be totally honest with each other. If you store it in JPEG, Adobe RGB, and you don't use a lot of compression, like 8 or 10, you have a great image. You can't see the difference between the TIFF and JPEG. The only thing is, if you open it up and you save it again, open it up and save it again, open it up and save it again, the JPEG will start to deteriorate. But how many times do you open your retouched image again? Right? I'm editing in a 16-bit color space. I'm editing in a 16-bit environment in Photoshop. The only thing is, as soon as I store it, then I use JPEG 8 bits. It's pure saving space, and because I don't go back to those images anymore, it's no problem at all. And everything goes faster. If I want to send images to my clients, I now just send the JPEGs. And otherwise, I have to first open up the TIFFs, create JPEGs, and send those to my clients. So working in a JPEG environment is great if you use it as storing devices. Don't work in an 8-bit color space or in an 8-bit environment in Photoshop. That's terrible. Always keep it in 16 bits. So how do you do that? You go into Lightroom, you go into your preferences, and you go into your file handling. And as you can see here, your DNGs. And as soon as you go to external, you can see that I'm opening up in Photoshop, TIFF, Adobe RGB, 16 bits component. And that's the way that I love to work, because then I have my total control with my curves, I have my control with my colors, I don't clip any channels, I still have that 16 bits, but in the end, when I'm totally done with my shot, that's when I store it as JPEG. Is it perfect? No, but it saves you a lot of time and money on hard drive space. Any more questions in the chat? Let me see. No more questions. Okay, great. Our poll is great. One person didn't like the retouching, everybody else does. So I think we're going to do the retouching in the next episodes too. So maybe a little bit shorter. I have to find out a great way that it incorporates. Okay, thank you so very much for watching, guys. Any more news?
The classroom should be November 12th, and maybe people have suggestions.
Okay, November 12th, we have the next digital classroom. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below or just email us. And as always, what you want to know, that's what's in digital classroom, because digital classroom is not for me. Digital classroom is not for Linda, Anouk, or our intern Silke, or our studio dog Chewy. It's for you guys. So you determine what we do next. Do we want to have a seminar on street and travel photography, styling, or maybe something in the studio? Let us know, and next time we will do it. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and we're gonna end now the stream.